who died were not Hong Kong Chinese, Hong Kong residents, but foreigners, supposing they were expatriates or Pakistanis or Nepalese, but Hong Kong, nevertheless, Hong Kong residents, Hong Kong citizens. Would that have changed public opinion different, in a different way? Affected in a different way?
Well, of course, this is a hypothetical question, and it didn't happen. I would think if there was, say, Hong Kong expatriate amongst the victims, but still there are other local Chinese amongst the victim group, then I don't think the reaction would change too much. But if the situation is, say, there's all victims were non-locals, how will Hong Kong people react? I really just do not know. I would hope that Hong Kong people are mature enough under one country, two systems, that we, of course, is part of China, but we are a very unique and special city, a very international city. So Hong Konger is no longer restricted to a very traditional concept of ethnic Hong Kong Chinese. I think a lot of educated Hong Kong people has grown out of that stage, but if you ask me what would happen, say, to the general
would the
mass,
outrage be as much?
Well, I think there would be some difference, but I just couldn't tell, and I just don't want that to happen.
It's just somebody asked me that question. I mean, I couldn't give a thought. I'd ask you, since you're the expert on this. Okay, now we'll move on. You know, one of the other things that you do, obviously, is this, you track the popularity of Donald Tsang, and you track the popularity of the Lechka members. Donald Tsang has not been having a good time of it, but your latest polls show that he is slowly creeping up in popularity, creeping back up, little by little. This is going to help him, right? This Manila crisis.
Well,
people will forget about all the wrong things that his administration has done.
Well, there are opportunities again for the administration to do wrong things, of course, and this incident, they seems to be handling it pretty well. So this, of course, is an opportunity for say, Donald Tsang's popularity to continue to move now. I have to say that we have been mapping all these chief executives and of course Chris Patten as the governor of Hong Kong's popularity for such a long time that we are really trying to look at some structures. Are there really systematic structural changes across all these chief executives? It seems that some structures have happened. Now, we don't have a democratic society, so we don't elect our governor chief executive. So according to the basic law, a chief executive should be there for 10 years, two consecutive terms with 10 years. It seems that this is a little bit too long a time for a Hong Kong leader to stay for 10 years. Because for Donald Tsang, he came to this post, of course, after Sejong stepped down, and he had, I mean, Donald Tsang has had a very good popularity at the beginning, and that lasts for about 3 years. So we don't say honeymoon because it's in terms of months, but we're really talking about a good time of about 2 to 3 years, very good for a new phase.
And then he went down.
And then he went down. And this also applies to Sejong as well.
But not Chris Patten, though, huh?
Not Chris Patten, but Chris Patten, when he came, he also earns very good popularity, but people know, because he came in 1992, 1997, he has to go, right? So it's only 5 years for him. So seems all right. That's 7 years for him. Seems all right for him. Now we look at Sejong, we look at Donald Tsang, and I also look at Chen Shui-bian in Taiwan, elected for 8 years, presumably for a full term of 8 years. Then about at 5, 6, 7 years, people tend to get impatient. Something has happened, government is not handling things well, and we like to change. They find more
fault with their leaders, right?
Well, they're bound to find fault with leaders, even for elected leaders.
Well, look at Obama. He's been there a couple of years less, and his popularity has just gone down.
This happens all the time, well, even for elected governments.
Right.
But if you have say a system, a rotary system of 4 years, then you could wait 3 years. If you're not happy, in the 4th year I change you. If I could tolerate you for one more time, then 8 years is the end of everything. So Obama came because he sort of revolted against Bush and said he wanted to change, and this sells. People like that. Now, I think even for Hong Kong people, it's not so much with Sejong or Donald Tsang as a person, but sometimes society wants change. because they're faults. They're bound to be faults for the government at some point in time.
Right.
And if you could wait for another year, you could wait for it. But if I'm going to tell you, let's wait for another 4 years or 5 years, then you lose patience.
Right.
You cannot re-elect your government. So you started the protest. You express yourself in opinion polls.
And then they become... But the thing is, you look at Donald Trump's popularity, is compared to Western leaders who are elected, it's really not all that bad, right?
Depends on which indicator you use. Of course, what I would say this is normal. If we look at the rating, we use the thermometer scale 0 to 100, so the rating is about 50, so it's a mediocre. It's not good. But still, if you look at approval rates, then perhaps a 30, 40 approval rate is normal for a leader, Western leader,
who's been there for
on the verge of stepping down.
Exactly, and Donald Trump is on the verge of stepping down. He's got a couple more years.
Use that. But of course, I have to add that we are not having a democratic system here in Hong Kong. So when we poll people for approval rates, they don't have that concept of changing the leader. So they have this kind of toleration, whether I should tolerate him or her to be leader for another period of time. And seems that with that measurement, well, he is not too bad, but there are enough aggression amongst the public, and of course among specific group of public, that he has to be very careful. He has a very short time to stay on, but still, I think he would hope to really push up his popularity
he's got a couple more years. So I've got a few minutes left only, so I want to move on here. Now, originally I asked you to come to talk about how public confidence in the judiciary has gone down based on one of your polls. A few days back, the Chief Justice of Hong Kong, the retiring Chief Justice,